Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of Season 1 Hearthstone Grandmasters. I'm Raven and joining me once more, on the road, is Derek. How's it going, mate? You looking forward to today?
I am. It's a somewhat bittersweet moment. I am loath to see the first season of Grandmasters come to an end, but I'm sure one player today will be very happy to see it come to the end as they book their spot in the global finals at BlizzCon.
Yeah, and they put a lot of work into this. This has been over the course of 8 weeks or so, depending on if you count in Vegas and then if you made it to playoffs, etc. But yeah, it's all coming down to today, basically. We have 4 players left in each region, and that's going to play it out. So we'll have 3 players at the end of today that are going to that global finals in November at BlizzCon. Not a much better stage, in my opinion, to play on. Of course, any World Championship style stage is fantastic, but at BlizzCon, that's like the heart of Blizzard games across the board, never mind just Hearthstone.
I agree. I'm glad that we're seeing the end of the Hearthstone competitive year happening at BlizzCon. I felt like it was a little bit missing in the last couple of years, and I'm excited to see it go back. As you may see there, the Masters Tour events at the bottom as well, kind of highlighting some of the big tournaments that we have of the year. The Bucharest qualifiers for the final tour stop happening at the moment, so you could go to playhearthstone.com/esports if you want to take a look at how to participate yourself in some of those qualifiers and earn a spot there. And if you were to play in one of those qualifiers, you would be playing in specialist format, the same as all the tournaments this year, our brand new format, which is a best of 3, 1 class, 3 deck format. You choose your 1 class and you build 3 decks of it, all of which have to share 25 same cards. Those 5 cards that you can swap out in your secondary and tertiary deck allow you to counteract and account for any strategies your opponent may be bringing as best as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of discussion about Specialist as a format before and post and during GM. But I think for me, one thing I have enjoyed is it's created this meta game, at least, of just the uber triforce of Mage, Rogue, Warrior. And I feel like those matchups in a triangle are fairly even across the board. And that is just very interesting because it means the players are a little bit more free to play what they want to play, as opposed to going, oh, this deck's just the best, I have to play this. They have a choice as to what they bring.
Yeah, I feel like it's got positives and negatives when compared to Conquest. The downside, to some extent, can be you're only allowed to bring 1 class, so there's a little bit less representation. It's a distilled format down to, like you said, the 3 best classes. But in terms of individual cards, you get, in my opinion, a lot more representation, a lot more tech cards thrown around in there, which I'm happy we get to see.
That is true, and just in case you've either A, not been keeping up this weekend, in which shame on you, but most importantly whether you just need a quick reminder like I often do myself, these are the final 4 players of the day. Out of all 16 Asia Pacific Grandmasters, we have 4 left, and it's coming down to this: Staz versus Surrender, going to be kicking off the day, but then Shaxi versus Alutimu. And this is the order we're going to play in. Staz versus Surrender first, which is going to be Hunter versus Rogue, and then the Mage Mirror for Shaxi and Alutimu. And then we move on to match 3, also known as the finals, which is going to be best of 5.
That's right. This is going to be the second time this year I think we've seen best of 5 specialist, as we obviously had that in the finals of Masters Tour Vegas between Dog and Gallon. It's going to be interesting. I'm not quite sure how it will shake out and the strategies that come into it. I imagine it's fairly similar to a best of 3 style of play. You just try and win with your secondary tech.
However much it may end up being the same matchup multiple times, that's just kind of a bigger sample size, right? So it's not the worst thing in the world. Staz versus Surrender is coming up right now, though. We are going to get into it as quickly as possible as these players are raring to go. Staz on Hunter had a fantastic time of it earlier this weekend as we check out his deck. His group initially was 2 mage players in the form of Alutimu and Dawn, and he just whistled through, basically. Just 2-0, 2-0 done next. I'll see you on Sunday.
To be honest, it felt like what you see in the David Attenborough documentaries, where there's just a bear in a river full of salmon, and it's just kind of just slashing at everything and just eating. Like, the salmon are the mages in this equation, and Staz is the bear, in case you're wondering. He was just destroying everyone.
Or really, is it the other way round? Because the mage is the bear, and in this small circumstance, the salmon just slapped the bear in the face as it went past and then carried on upstream.
I mean, I think a more fitting analogy would be if the mage is the bear, Staz is like a missile launcher that just nukes the bear.
Just some kind of nuclear device. So, well, that escalated rather quickly, but my main point, as we somehow reel back into actual relevance, is that Staz had a great run of it in his group. But today, he is up against Surrender, who is on the Rogue. And Staz has said, yes, of course, Rogue versus Hunter for quite a long time now. Rogue has been the favoured player overall in terms of just how the decks work together. But Staz has said, you know, he has beaten Rogue in the past few weeks. He has took it on. He has got some wins against it. So it's by no means not doable. It's just going to be a lot harder than double mage for your first group.
Yes, he's definitely in with a shot. I would say his primary deck is reasonable, as we saw with one Scale Hide isn't great, you'd rather have two. A Rat Trap definitely helps though, and it's going to be such an important matchup for not only the player that wins and qualifies through to the final, but also for Alutemu or Shaxi. They're both in basically the same spot in the second match of the day, given that they both have mages, very similar builds of mage, so it doesn't really matter for Staz or Surrender which player makes it through, but for whoever wins out of Shaxi or Alutemu, I think they'll definitely be praying for Surrender to make it through on the Rogue. Because while I would argue that's not a great matchup for the Mage, definitely feels better than the Hunter.
If you watch day one of APAC playoffs and you were playing Mage in this tournament, you would be terrified because it didn't even look close, did it? In both matches, Staz was just like, play cards, 1-0. Play cards, 2-0. It's like game. It's like so crazy. It was so nuts. But yes, I do agree. I think Shaxi and Alutemu, regardless, will be hoping for a Surrender win. But let's go into it. Game number 1 of the final day of playoffs here in the Asia Pacific region. Staz on the top on his Hunter signature deck, and Surrender on the bottom on Rogue. And I would say Surrender much more, I feel, of a jack of all trades.
As a player, or in
terms of
the Rogue deck?
Deck playability.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Staz has shown what I think is a very, very valid style of play, especially in Specialist, where you learn one deck in particular. He's shown a bit of flexibility. Like I believe he switched over to Rogue a couple weeks ago and picked up a couple wins there. Yeah. But recently, it's very much been Hunter is the name of the game for him. And I think... you know, I don't think Staz would mind me saying he is not the favourite coming into Grandmasters compared to some of the other competitors.
Yeah, that's true.
And how much tournament pedigree they have. I think Staz has an uphill climb to be able to get to the same likelihood of winning. And I think sticking on one deck, learning it inside and out, and making sure you are the absolute dominant force with this deck is the best way to overcome that shortcoming.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I think it's kind of worked out well because that deck isn't one of the 3. It's number 4.
Yeah.
Because it means that no one is overly preparing for Hunter, or has been in GM history, right? No one's been like, I need to build a side deck that beats Hunter specifically. It's normally leaned more just anti-aggro in general. But looking at the game now, as a couple of turns have passed, nothing too mind-blowing going on. Surrender does have a good quality curve coming right up, whereas Staz, he's just already, and it's one thing I just love about Hunter right now is the decision points come thick and fast, don't they, as to what you want to do, because I'll be completely honest, I don't think Coin Animal Companion there was the worst play that could have happened, because there's Hyena and a one-drop follow-up the turn after, and so on, and it puts Surrender in a bad spot, potentially. I'm not saying it was the right play, but just my point being, Hunter can make choices from a very early turn at the moment. Absolutely.
So many different ways that Staz can play it, and we've seen... You laughing at Hunting Party to copy the rat.
Yeah. I think Surrender's face at Hunting Party to copy the rat, more importantly.
For Staz, though, I think he's shown fantastic flexibility in his game plan. Like, against the Mage, he's been aggressive almost to a fault, I would argue. Incredibly prioritizing just throwing anything onto the board. Against the Warriors, he's been greedy almost to a fault, I would argue, where he's playing super value-oriented. And against the Mage here, I think he's playing a little bit more removal-oriented. You know, he didn't want to coin out Animal Companion because that opens him up to Backstab Miscreant, Backstab SI, things like that, which could go very wrong. And so I like his slightly slower line of play, where it forces Surrender to, on average, play off curve.
And look at these discovers now. Solarium just strikes me as a bootleg Myra's to a certain extent. Took nearly 12 months, but I got to call a fairly relevant bootleg card.
Yeah, I think it's more boot than leg.
I think it's good.
I mean, compared to Myra's, it's different, right? It's very different.
I'm not saying it's as good as Myra's.
It's probably...
I'm saying if that was a rogue card, I think it would be played.
Yes, I think Solarium is just a very good card, I agree. And I think it's probably better than Myra's in this instance, right? You don't really have the mana to throw that down, especially when you're going to be playing every time Hunting Party on 5 to copy that ramp.
But I think the good thing about Solarium in this deck right now is even late game, the card is fantastic. Maybe even better than early game, because Rogue can play all of its cards that it will draw. If you play on, turn 7 upwards, you can play Solarium and almost certainly play everything out. So
I agree.
You don't really get any major loss for it. It's pretty sick.
And I think, when you compare it to, I think, what was the only other real choice of Heroic Strike. Heroic Strike, obviously, your first impression is that it opens up aggressive lines of play where you just push for lethal as quick as possible, which is definitely something to consider against Staz, who only has one Scale Hide in his primary deck. But I would argue that Solarium actually opens up more aggressive options just because it gets you through to Leroy, Shadow Step, Eviscerate, SI, Waggle Pick, all those good, tasty cards later in the deck.
And that's one of the weaknesses Hunter has in this matchup, is when Rogue says go, it just has to say, okay, let's race. And Rogue's often in like a Formula 1 car, whereas Hunter's in like a Mini or something, and it doesn't really work out because Hunter, even disregard its history, does not have a lot of damage from hand when compared to Rogue.
That's fair.
Which is absurd. Right? If Rogue says go, you're probably going to die in a turn.
Well, did you catch the game last night between Orange and Calento?
I did not. That was about the time I fell asleep, actually, unfortunately.
Well, if you'd watched it, I assure you, you would not have fallen asleep. Calento was at 30 health, turn 6, with a 1 durability Waggle Pick. Orange just slams Leroy, attacks face, swings, he got the lethal.
I did, because he Shadow Stepped it later as well, didn't he?
It was insane.
Sorry, I was falling asleep, clearly, so I did watch that match,
It was... Oh, that made me so happy. That was such a deserved win from Orange.
Yeah, just deal 6, go.
Yeah, exactly. Just, he knew the only way he won the game, and he went for it. But in this particular game for Surrender, I think, at the moment, I prefer the more board control-oriented route. Because there is the quote-unquote punish, as it currently stands, of double Timberwolf Unleash the Hounds to clear off this board. But to be perfectly honest, if Surrender sees that, I think he's pretty happy. He can just carry on developing. He has refill with the Solarium. It's really not that bad.
Well, when you take it on a basic level, right, if you put a wave of threats first, and your opponent answers it with all of their mana, and not really developing threats themselves, you can, on average, a deck can present threats more often than an opponent can deal with them.
Generally,
so you will win that fight eventually. Yes. And Surrender's not been just going all in aggressive, like you said. These cards have done things, like generated cards, put on a little bit more damage and created good bodies on the board. So Surrender's kind of playing out his game plan with a double impact of Staz not being able to do much up until now.
And the pressure from Surrender is making Staz feel forced into going for this play, which, I mean, I thought he was leading up to the Hyena there and would stop him from going for the Revenge of the Wild. But to be honest, no matter what combination of cards he went for there, it felt
bad.
Pretty miserable, yeah. So then the question is, would you rather have Coin and a Timberwolf in... Would you rather have Timberwolf in hand or Coin and Revenge of the Wild? Because this difference, the difference in this situation is he could have had Timberwolf instead of a dog, and he could have had Coin and Revenge of the Wild in hand. And I think from Staz, the Coin might have just been more valuable. Like, just being able to go Zul'jin a turn earlier. I don't know. I don't see... Like, I appreciate that after you've used Unleash the Hounds, Revenge of the Wild becomes very poor on average. It's not a very good card at that point.
Right.
But Timberwolf is not that important either. Like, he can get Springport off of the Master's Call, but if he gets that, the Unleash, the Revenge of the Wild becomes good again anyway.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think
it is.
I think with Master's Call, his hand looks pretty good right now. And also, even if he goes Unleash the Beast, Master's Call stuff, that gets him to Zul'jin very naturally anyway.
It does, but it still leads into a turn 9 Zul'jin, which I think could have been Staz's best chance at taking this back.
Let's see how it plays out then. Surrender just playing the plain Ziliax, which is a really good play because it means Unleash the Beast does nothing.
That's true.
It's actually pretty sick.
that's a very smart play there from Surrender.
Knowing that there's been no Master's Call played this game, it's and seen the Unleash with the Revenge, you know it's fairly unlikely there's not Spring Paws and stuff readily available. You've seen a Timberwolf use, so the buff on a 1-1 to kill the Ziliax in one swing after the Divine Shield isn't there. I think this Ziliax is actually one of the most well-timed Ziliax that you didn't need to play to attack a minion I've ever seen. Absolutely.
And it's kind of funny because the Unleash the Beast that Staz has is actually not from his deck, it's from the Shimmerfly. But Surrender still, you know, you still expect to see it on curve, so still very correctly playing around that and forcing Staz to go for this, which is horrendous.
Oof. There's Timberwolf number 2. Long gone now. Hunting Party on that Life Drinker. And the Blink Fox. Wow, Hunting Party's just good. Beast Rogue, let's go.
It's not the play here, but it's actually not that bad. Like, getting yourself another Life Drinker. Getting another Shimmerfly.
Surrender qualified to the finals with his Hunting Party Rogue. One of the new styles we've seen coming out from him.
I agree this is better. You want to pressure before Zul'jin can come down. But, oh man, I could have kissed Surrender if he'd gone for the Hunting Party there.
Okay, so I think now you might have to see the Master's Call from Staz, because I think he needs to piece together a few things to make this turn work next turn.
But it just doesn't even get that good, right? Because if he can't hit Timberwolf, which makes the Spring Paws much better...
I'm just worried, does he always just get worse?
Yeah, the Scale Hide on its own is just not that good. I think Unleash the Beasts, making sure they're in the pool for Zul'jin is more important. And it's better than anything that could come down with Master's Call on this turn, I think. Surrender's got a hand that's definitely not slowing down in stuff to do with now Miscreant and even a potential Shadow Step as well. But I think he needs to look at this hand and figure out how can I kill my opponent as quickly as humanly possible with this.
Yeah, I really like Waggle Pick into Miscreant. Yeah, this is just not only the most just straightforward, powerful play, it opens up a lot of chances to be able to do this, which kills off the 5-2. You get to push 7 damage this turn. You could push 9 if you really wanted to. I don't know if that 5-2 is a big enough deal, but trading it is just a reasonably safe thing to do to dodge stuff like Dire Frenzy, I suppose.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Like he's obviously protecting the Miscreant instead of pushing 1. Which I think is actually not so obvious. Like, the Miscreant likely survives because, obviously, if the second Unleash the Beast is played, it will take off the highest amount of attack. That was interesting, I think. I wouldn't have hated to see the extra 1 being pushed there.
I wouldn't have been overly upset at just pushing everything. And not even trade.
Well, I mean, I guess he missed 2 there.
Leave a 5-2 on the board and just say, well, it is literally just a 5-2.
Yeah.
It's not like Staz is going to make a push for lethal from 30 health on Surrender's side, right? And now, though, here comes the Solarium.
Let's look at the options. What's he got?
Oh, no.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, he can hit face, swing, play Shark, play Miscreant again.
Wow, yeah.
Like,
that
just
sounds
stuff.
reasonable
He has Vendetta to kill off the Scale Hide.
Yes, killing the Scale Hide is very important. Just to even just play around top deck Dire Frenzy. Like, I think it's worth it. He's in such a good spot.
Can even Shadow Step the Shark for next turn.
I think we'll see what lackeys he gets. Like if he gets
yeah, definitely respect
Kobold lackey. Yeah, you definitely want to get that going as soon as possible.
Not playing Shark.
I think it was just hand space issues, but he could have played Vendetta and then Shark, right? Oh, he'd rather get the Togwaggle. Okay, fair enough. Alternate line of play.
Vendetta coming down. Wondrous Wand is available. Oh, that's a good turn, isn't it?
This is a very good turn. Okay, this is fine. Like, I honestly wouldn't have hated Spirit of the Shark because I think he had 4 chances to hit Kobold Lackey, and Kobold Lackey pretty much locked out the game in his favor.
Yeah, he already had Ethereal Lackey for 2 spells, to then Shadow Step Ethereal Lackey for another 2 spells.
This, however, gives him a very good chance to find Leroy, which I think is a very respectable line of play as well.
I think Surrender would have had to do some very silly things to have a bad turn. I think, honestly, I think it would have been like Hunting Party, play 2 Shimmerflies, pass. would have been the turn that would have been actually a problem.
Yeah.
And this is the problem where we talked earlier, the game plan.
It's just game.
The game plan versus Mage, aggro, aggro, aggro.
Yes.
Game plan versus Warrior for Staz, super slow, win it in the long game. Game plan versus Rogue, question mark. Because it's just not clear, is it? I don't really know what you're supposed to do consistently that beats Rogue, that when the Rogue is being consistent too.
And I think Staz will be thinking the same thing for himself in this game. I mean, you know, the answer that we've seen consistently from Hunter players who have beaten Rogue really is Rat Trap. You know, to be honest, the way that they lock out the games in their favor, or at least give them a significant advantage, is just slamming the Rat Trap as soon as they humanly can. Which is looking like a decent plan for Staz, because obviously he can now switch over to his secondary or tertiary deck to counteract the Rogue game plan, and adding in an extra Rat Trap will definitely help.
It really will. We've seen Staz keep Rat Trap in almost every matchup, to be like almost every single one regardless, and then he's also, as you said, got secondary deck that has an extra Rat Trap in. We've seen him keep it and play it on 2 almost every single time, and we've seen it have a good impact. It has been part of those games where Staz has beaten Rogue as well as some other classes as well.
The thing is, though, that game plan that we saw from Surrender there, when he was on the play rather than on the coin, it wasn't even that vulnerable for the vast majority of the game to Rat Trap. He was just curving out, you know, Blink Fox, Hench Clan Burglar, just decent minions played on curve, which, you know, to be fair, often is quite weak to the Hunter game plan, because very early on, a lot of their minions and a lot of their spells can function purely as removal. Kill command, just kill off a 3 health minion is fine. Marked shot, deadly shot, even the spring pause can all be very, very strong early on. And it was a bit of a rough draw for Staz. The combos didn't quite come together until a bit later on. But as we said, Rat Trap will help smooth that over usually.
Yeah, it's really. I'm still not 100% sold on Rat Trap, right? And that's weird for me because I think Rat Trap is one of the best Hunter secrets.
Yes.
But I think the way it's being played, and maybe the assumption it's just going to lock your opponent out, is a little bit strong, because I feel like for Rogue specifically, when Rogue can do lots of stuff in a turn, it often does enough stuff to not care about the 6/6. Unless you're literally going, like, imagine you go for a quick, if you go for exactly a big Van Cleef turn early game, you're scared of a deadly shot and proccing a Rat Trap. If that happens, that's worst case, you probably lose. But if you just don't do that, and all the other turns, like making tons of lackeys and even playing them, like, a lot of time you can either deal with a 6/6 or you're so far ahead that the 6/6 has to trade anyway. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty close, but I think Surrender will change to his double Rat Trap deck. He gains...
Staz.
Sorry, Staz, apologies. Two names begin with S, that's all I need to get confused. But there's a Snake Trap in there as well, which I think complements the Rat Trap way more, because 2 secrets that are not that straightforward to even proc. Like, the second you proc Rat Trap, it's because you played 3 cards and you've committed, that's it. And you have to attack a minion to proc the snake, but with 2 rats and 1 snake, we've seen players play around Rat Trap when it was Snake, and that's just lost them the game to a certain extent. It's crazy.
Yeah, we have, and I think it allows the players on the Rogue to go for a little bit more of a risky game plan. Like I believe it was Rivius when he was playing against one of the Hunters earlier on, where if he just ignored it and pretended it was Snake Trap, he might have had a better chance of winning the game. Not to say that you necessarily should do that, because you might think, okay, even if it's the Rat Trap, I can still win later on. But very often, if the Hunter's pulling ahead, you have to throw all caution to the wind, pray it's not the Rat Trap, and then just hope to get there.
Yep, let's take a look at Staz's list as he has moved on to his secondary deck, which is, without much surprise, extra tracking, extra hatchet, the second Rat Trap, and the Snake Trap we talked about. The secondary Vicious Scale Hide also opens up a little bit more juice for being able to land a Dire Frenzy on that minion, which really messes up with Rogue, when Rogue often just goes, okay, you're on about 16, 17 health, I'm going to go face for 2 turns and win. Well, a buffed Scale Hide just changes those numbers completely. And the losses are just Hyena, Rhino, and the Revenge of the Wild, which I think is completely acceptable losses versus Rogue.
I agree. I was somewhat surprised to see Hyena go out of the list at first glance, because I would traditionally think, in an unfavorable matchup, you want to just get some kind of a ridiculous start with Hyena that blows out the game and the Rogue doesn't have a chance. But I think when you play the matchup a little bit more, you experience Vendettas, Backstabs, SI7 agents, Kobold Lackeys, you quickly realize it just doesn't stick. Well, it's so rare for it to get there. Yeah,
I think the biggest problem for me is Rogue can just not have minions early game, so you can't make a big Hyena. That there's nothing to make it big with, so it gets stranded a little bit. And here we see, I happily say Staz is 100% keeping that rat trap because he has done every single time I've seen him draw it in his mulligan.
I agree it's not quite so ridiculous when you are on the coin because your opponent is less likely to play 3 cards in a turn, and so it doesn't stay activated, but I still think it's just one of the most powerful cards you could find early on. The kill command being kept as well, it's something that I think is done not often enough in the Hunter because, you know, we've been conditioned over years of playing Hunter to think kill command goes face, and that's the only place you ever want to point it. But against the vast majority of rogue minions being 3 health, it's just fine as a removal spell.
Yep. Once you get to that point of playing that much Hunter, you have to enter the Elite Hunting Lodge, where you sit and meditate and realize that sometimes if you kill command a minion, you get to go face more. That's the higher level of Hunter understanding that you have to hit. One day, Derek, I'll give you the membership card and you can get in there and try it out.
I don't even think I'm worthy. Hunter was my last golden class.
I was going to say, was that like yesterday or something you got Golden Hunter?
It was depressingly recent. It was only a few months ago I actually got it.
Sick.
Well, it's because I don't know. I never really played that much Hunter, but I loved the
Death Realm?
No, the one the mid-range Masters called Hunter, but just before this rotation, when we still had Dire Mauls, Crackling Razor Maws. That was a strong deck.
Crackling Razor Maw is one of the most single powerful Hunter cards we've ever seen, I think.
It's insane.
Imagine it in this deck as well now. Oh.
Yeah, it'd be pretty nuts.
You'd have a good 2-drop.
Imagine that.
Whoa!
Well, I mean, speaking of good 2-drops.
You know that we were talking about cards the other day, the new announced cards and stuff. Something Explorer, sorry about the name, but the 2-mana 2/3 draw a card if you've got a quest active.
Oh yeah.
I might play me some
juicy.
quests because
if
you play a quest 1-drop, which you're always guaranteed to have, then you get to play a 2-mana 2/3 draw a card.
That card's nuts.
Do you remember when Novice Engineer got nerfed when it was a 2-mana 1/2 draw a card?
Well, I mean, do you remember Arcanologist? Arcanologist was insane. It was absolutely insane.
I was just looking at it today and going, I'm going to play me some quest decks, regardless of what the quest is.
I guess that's true, actually, because the criticism of quests is you're down a card in your starting hand, so let's just get that back. Psych.
So the Rat Trap has been played, and already Surrender has to consider it, but again, I think the more I see this Rat Trap with Snake Trap in the deck, the more I think, well, you should just maybe make some good turns.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is for Surrender, he has no way to activate either. As
he's not going to do it anytime soon.
So yes, he just carries on doing his best game plan. What that is somewhat debatable, because obviously on this turn, I imagine he's deciding between Blink Fox and Snippety Snappity. Both have upside later on, right? Like Snip Snap has the echo effect. You could maybe get it for double play on turn 6 later on. Blink Fox has more synergy later on with Spirit of the Shock. But I think, given that they both have slightly better outcomes that are unlikely to come to fruition, I prefer the better body as it currently stands, which is the stickier one because it plays around the removal, which is Snip Snap.
I like it. Huff Huff. Face attack.
Even in the Elite Hunter Lodge, you still send Huffer face.
We were only talking about kill commands earlier, Darren. You're not ready to even discuss the intricacies of Huffer play. Yeah, that's the tier above.
The galaxy brain stuff.
That's black belt Hunter Lodge level. You're a long way off if you only got 500 wins the other week.
To face your opponent, you must first face yourself.
And then the Huffer comes out of nowhere and smacks you in the face. It's
Ow!
Like, oh,
that's not what I expected at all.
Oh, you meant literally send damage to your own face.
How did you even find that pig?
Just flies from behind the curtain. A Huffer with wings. Now that is a scary thought.
Guaranteed that'll be a card at some point.
You know bees?
Yes.
I would love it. If
pigs!
Huffers! Summons like 4 Huffers, and they don't trade, they all just go face. Best card.
I mean, that would have to cost like 20 mana.
Hearthstone design team. Look, guys, I know you're listening.
Staz, however, is clearly not a member of the Elite Hunter Lodge, trading in with his Huffer there, just because I think he's coming to the correct conclusion that his hand is very clearly a border control one, as it currently stands. This is not a hand that can win by shipping everything face. would you still have liked to see it
It's
go
just called
face?
a lack of confidence, Derek. I'm joking. The trade, in all seriousness, the trade's fine because it's unlikely that this 1 damage is going to come from anywhere.
Yep.
There's a one lackey out of the generated ones that can really do it cleanly. And if Surrender daggers it down, fantastic.
Exactly. Any mana expenditure at all is fantastic because it disrupts the 4 mana play, which is Waggle Pick, Burglar, Spirit of the Shock.
Oh, I love Haunting Visions.
It's got to be Haunting Visions.
I just love the card
Haunting
in general
Visions is so
anyway.
good. Yeah. Haunting Visions is such a cool card.
I really like it. It continues to blow my mind that Shaman is just not getting there at the moment because Haunting Visions is great. Spirit of the Frog, great
Insane,
card.
yeah.
Cragwar, one of my favorite cards at the moment. I just not many people are playing it. It's so weird.
I'm top 200 with Shaman at the moment, dude. Well, top 300.
Weird flex, but okay.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, I tried that last night, you know, after you told me yesterday. Oh, you breeze to Legend, Aggro Shaman.
Yeah.
First match, Control Warrior. I was like...
Control Warrior. Free win. Free win.
Free win?
Free win.
Shut up.
Let me introduce you to my good friend Underbelly Angler. And keeping Doomhammer in the mulligan.
I swung a full Doomhammer with Rockbiters, and he still got there.
Yeah, it's the worst matchup.
Yeah. Look, you're joking. The viewers might not think you're joking. Go, wow, Raven can't even beat Control Warrior with Aggro Shaman.
What should I think there?
Okay. Raiding Party.
Yeah, these are some pretty miserable options.
Well, yeah, I guess. I'm just thinking, like, Raiding Party,
it draws 2
a weapon.
cards. Yeah, it draws
right?
the second Burglar and the Waggle Pick.
I think it's not too bad. It could be better.
Deadly Poison has to be better, though, right?
What, then a Waggle Pick?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, but you have to spend 4 mana to draw it, right? Like, it's not... The card isn't Waggle Pick. The card is Raiding Party.
Haunting Visions into Raiding Party.
Wow. He got the bad one. You pretty much never want to destroy him and you add a copy of it to your hand.
Unless it's Huff.
That's when you realize in the Elite Hunter Lodge there have been rogues hanging from the rafters all along, ready to steal your Huffers.
The true teaching is when you're a true Hunter Master, no matter what class you play, you can still get Huffer.
I mean, this elite Hunter Lodge sounds more and more like a complete scam where someone's just making it up as they go along.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This isn't a pyramid scheme.
Surrender here, picking up the Edwin Van Cleef with a with a sap as well. He can go Vendetta. I don't know, backstab something.
Summit.
And then Edwin, then sap. Oh, Haunting Visions. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
It reduces
Visions.
the mana. Oh, that's perfect. That's insane. It reduces the mana of his sap. He'll still have to backstab something first if he doesn't want to. If he wants to get an extra +4/+4 buff on his Edwin.
Surrender now, doing the key skill of all high-end Hearthstone players. Mental maths whilst looking up to the sky. It's often the way you count better.
I can attest, it's true.
And also, bear in mind, this is not just 3 mana reduce the cost of your next spell by 3. He gets to discover a card,
yes,
which
exactly.
means that can open up just better options going forward anyway.
Yeah.
You could just go Blink Fox and go wide.
Yeah. So
You could even just
backstabbing
ignore the
something
discovered card if the card's that good at a high cost. Well,
well, I mean, I think I'd like to see the the sapping of the rat. Oh my god, this is insane! I like the holding of the preparation as well. I think that Edwin is plenty big enough as it currently stands.
Prep Raiding Party. The 2 nerfed cards make a comeback.
Oh, he can kill off the shark now. Without the Timberwolf being picked up for Staz, he had to just take a 50-50.
Oh.
That was such a huge draw there.
Surrender already knows. It's like, if one Timberwolf's come down,
Yeah.
my shark is dead.
I mean, this was not an all-in game plan for Surrender. He wanted this to stick, though. This is a big blow to his game
Less
plan.
of an all-in plan and more for, well, if this swings, I'm in the finals.
Yes, exactly.
He just wins. Now, unfortunately, that Waggle Pick is actually the worst draw in his deck.
He still has the second one, right?
He does. It's just that could have been a different
Something
card,
else.
and he
Fair
could have
enough.
drawn a
Yeah.
Waggle Pick anyway. And you can still just
pretty
Waggle Pick
bad.
and Blink Fox, which is reasonable. But now the problem Surrender's got is just these 1 health minions when Rogue doesn't play Fan of Knives.
Right, and so Waggle Pig isn't even that good. So maybe it's Prep, Party, Blink Fox,
Oh, wait.
Dagger.
What if he contracts the links and then rushes his links in? What? It's a
That's-
play?
7 mana for a worse shooting star.
In Rogue, though. I think worse Fan of Knives would be better.
Oh.
Gladiator's Longbow.
Yeah, he's just got a whole lot of weapon swings that he's got to chew through now. However, a lot of weapon swings mean a lot of damage, which could mean face, face, face. Something to consider. Okay, fair enough. Going for board control seems reasonable still. Staz is definitely going to be hesitant to throw down the Dire Frenzy on anything that is not exactly Vicious Scalehide, because, you know, if he's ahead in this situation, he does not want to lose to the potential burn plan. And also, as it currently stands, any of these cards shuffled in, even with the +3/+3 buff, are so much worse than Master's Call or Zul'jin. So much worse. And he just doesn't want to dilute his deck away from them.
Yep, this turn really sticks out to me as Unleash the Beast and just play a 1-drop. Shimmerfly almost certainly.
Sounds good.
Because Unleash the Beast can trade, and Surrender has already shown that he has 0 answers to a wide board as he swung a pick at
Yeah.
a 1-1. Yeah, 2-1 technically at the time, but whatever. And this means like, well, okay, well, what does he do this turn because the board is worse and wider? He could do that. That helps.
Ooh, that is a tremendous amount of time being bought. So Ziliax take out the Wyvern, swing.
Can Contract
Face.
target your own minions? Probably not, right?
It can because
can.
I keep bringing up Orange. He made a sick play where earlier on where he contracted his own Kobold Lackey for lethal at one point in one of the games.
It's why I was like, 1 mana away from prep, contract the Ziliax at some point. You know, just gain the Divine Shield extra
Not the
swing.
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Definitely not the dumbest thing I've ever said.
Yes. Close, but not
not.
quite. Yeah.
Rat Trap number 2. Oh. Rat into Rat Trap.
Well, wouldn't it just then trap the rat?
Imagine if that's the way it worked. Imagine how bad the game would be if there were these weird interactions. Well, but explained with logic. Well, if there's a rat trap and you play a rat, the rat goes for the trap. That just makes sense. Everyone's like,
It's just science, guys. Come on.
I was like, what? It's like the most convoluted card game ever, where there's just all these extra mini rules.
It's basically just like a Rube Goldberg machine. There's no rules. It's just what they
It
think
just
makes
happens.
sense.
Yeah. Did you know it was called Doom Rat?
I did.
First time. Eric knows.
I could have just. That could be a lie for all you know.
I trust you though. I actually quite like Snipe.
Your first mistake.
Aha, misplay. I would really like Snipe. Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's just good enough, and it's fantastic to have post Zul'jin as well.
Yeah, I think it's close. I think freezing trap on average is just too likely to be bad. Pretty interesting spot now with both players kind of flailing around pretty aimlessly. Both at pretty much full health. Not with all too much pressure they can throw down. I guess the Surrender could just clear. So bad though.
He could prep it and then play his own rat.
Wait, no, he couldn't. It costs 6 mana.
Oh, he preps to 4. Oh god, I'm locked in the
3 mana.
the old mindset.
Do you know, I didn't even realize though, because randomly in my YouTube recommended videos popped up like.
Careful.
No.
It's PG.
No. Just one of the original like gameplay like adverts for Hearthstone being commentated on by Ben Brode, where he was just kind of taking through what is Hearthstone, how does the game work,
yeah, this is the game.
Old prep was new prep. It used to be for 2 mana. I didn't even realize they
really?
buffed it up to 3. I mean, this was kind of like pre-closed beta or something. It was like alpha or something. Valera still had the old art, but I didn't even realize that.
I remember
prep used to be
original design when they had that. Was it the chicken that when you hovered over it dealt damage to you and stuff like that? It was like, imagine casting it. It would be like casting like a sort of constant action game. It's like, oh, he slipped and the mouse is over the card and he takes 10 damage. It would be so nuts.
It would be. Surrender in the end in this game that is rapidly slowing down as opposed to speeding up.
Rapidly slowing down.
Rapidly slowing down, yeah. Contracts the rat. And now he has his own one.
I just want to see the signature on that contract. The rat's like, okay, well. It's just a scratch mark.
Miscreant's a good top deck. That's one of the cards that Surrender was looking for. He's obviously... He knows that this is not the secret that came off of the evil plan or secret plan. So he knows that it is 50% to be rat trap, 50% to be snake trap. He cannot test for either with... Well, he cannot test for the rat trap. The only way he can find out is by activating the rat trap.
Yeah.
Basically what I'm trying to say.
You can't test for the snake trap.
Exactly, yes. So he probably just continues to play around with the rat because that would be a pretty big tempo swing against him.
He's
got strong plays without it.
Doom Rat Miscreant just
That's
seems
what I'm looking
absolutely fine as far as I'm concerned. Actually, just seems like a good turn.
It does seem like a decent turn. I guess he could consider Longbow Miscreant because a 6-mana 6/6 is just like pretty bad usually. But considering the fact that we're rapidly entering an arena game, I think a 6/6 Doom Rat is not that bad.
I also think, especially versus Hunter, it's good.
Yes.
How does it deal 6 damage?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. 2 minions, one of them's rat. I'm okay with it.
This is pretty simple. I guess, yeah, just putting more damage on board actually makes more sense, right? Because he's still going to be limited in the amount of lackeys he can play each turn. So the Miscreant doesn't offer much benefit, and it's just a 1/4 as opposed to a 3/3.
He's also only a few turns away from just lethal if you just add up straight damage, right?
Yeah.
You know, if these minions get to swing once, that's 9. The weapon swinging twice is 10. He's only on 22.
The thing is, though, Staz is just getting closer and closer to those crazy draws. I'm talking Vicious Scalehide, Master's Call, Zul'jin. I don't know, like well, I guess those are the main ones that he's looking for, but those are nuts. Like any one of those 3 draws just pulls him, I would argue, pretty far into the lead. But at the same time, if Surrender finds Heist Baron Togwaggle, he's in a fantastic position. So there's a bunch of great stuff he can get. Surrender needs stuff, and Staz needs very specific cards to pull himself into a good position here, and he's just made it more difficult for him to find them. Which is pretty surprising.
I'm also surprised that he's hovering this prep.
Is it just to activate the Miscreant?
I don't think it can be. I think if you're playing prep and you picked Raiding Party, you prep in Raiding Party, but if he does, he can't comfortably play another card.
Yes. Oh, he's going in. He's just, I think, praying that it's not the rat trap, or at least that he can deal with it.
Oh, now he can discover a spell.
Well, he can just kill it off with the Vendetta.
Oh, he has the Kobold.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
He can clear the board.
This is a huge tempo swing in his favor. I mean, he doesn't even have to kill off the 4/1, right? We could just take out the rat and then swing the Waggle Pick face. Yeah.
Then you can bounce Henge Clan next turn.
Yeah.
Or the Lackey, you know, whatever you fancy.
Yeah.
Head crack!
Ooh. Surrender and Head Crack. Name a more iconic duo.
Wait, what did he pick? Oh, the backstab move. Because he cast it so quick, I was like, wait, where's the spell in his hand? And it's like, oh, never mind. Surrender with the quick draw.
Okay.
Oh.
That's a great top deck for Staz.
Oh,
It's a
Surrender didn't
fantastic
want.
top
Okay.
deck for Staz.
Okay, I think Surrender
Those
kind
are
of got away
not
with it.
the draws he
Yeah,
wants
he
to
got away
see,
with it.
though. Because, well, as it currently stands, by playing the Dire Frenzy the previous turn, not only did he make it less likely to find the good cards, it meant that Vicious Scalehide is no longer even that good because he cannot cast the Dire Frenzy on it. It's pretty much just Dire Frenzy, Master's Call and Zul'jin that he's looking for now.
And this is... So the game is basically, to sum it up for anyone that maybe just be joining this last couple of minutes, they played a lot of stuff, they stalemated, and now if Staz doesn't draw a power card, which right now is pretty much Master's Call or Zul'jin exactly, I think it just loses in the next couple of turns. If he does, the game continues. He doesn't even necessarily win. The game just continues because Surrender has a lot of good draws himself. He also has Henchclap Burglar. Yeah, he's okay. Surrender was like, Ugh!
My
Okay,
opponent just played a 1-mana 4/4 with charge. Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
That's what I want to see. But Surrender has tons of value, and also bear in mind this longbow is damage to face.
Oh, yeah.
But also, it's 2 trades of a minion that cost him no health if he wants to swing it that way.
Right. Surrender now knows that this is a random secret. This is not Snake Trap guaranteed. Even though he's seen both Rat Traps, this came from the secret plan. So how does he most effectively play around it? It gets pretty awkward with Snipe because he wants to bounce, I would argue, either Life Drinker or Henchclan Burglar a lot more than Kobold Lackey. But he wants to play Kobold Lackey first to test for the Snipe.
I honestly believe that you just play Henchclan Burglar and
Really?
be upset. Yeah. I think overly playing around exactly Snipe.
So many
But then what
Is-
if it's Snake? Do you not attack into the minion here and just go face? Are you then taking too much damage, so you have to go Life Drinker?
But so for me, a lot of the decision goes, you could play Burglar. If it's Snake, then you just swing face, bounce the Burglar, go again, then you have 2 spells. You can still Life Drinker, and so on, so on. Surrender kind of went halfway house, and I think this is the middle ground. I think Life Drinker's a little bit better to lose overall. Wait, but he didn't want to bounce it.
He didn't want to bounce it,
Wait.
yeah.
Huh?
It works out because it's not strictly worse, right? Because he's had 2 mana left over, which was either Spell he discovers or Dagger.
But the 2 mana left over in the replay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but I'm
right.
saying, you know, getting another spell is not strictly better than playing the 1 spell he discovered or pressing hero power. I think it's probably slightly better.
Okay.
But well, it worked out for him, right? He got to cast the
I
big
mean,
bad
if you're
voodoo
gonna get
straight away.
if you're gonna get a 2-drop spell, then yeah, right.
And in what has been a very long, slow, grindy game where both players have just been desperately searching for something to do, it looks like Surrender is going to pull into the lead, but Staz finds, apart from Zul'jin, the 1 card he needed to keep himself alive.
It's not enough.
So
Because
that
Big
gets
Bad
a
Voodoo
four-
gets
a
a 5
5-drop,
drop
yes.
when it dies. The problem is he can Hound into the 4/3, which removes the most damage from the board, but it adds a 5-drop to the board. If the 5-drop does 4 damage,
Okay. So
he loses.
what if he goes double scale high, trade into the lackey just to gain 2, the miscreant, sorry, to gain 2 health. Hound then kills it off, I guess, or goes face. He goes up to 12. There's only 9 damage on board. He would still die,
It's the same situation, isn't it?
but it gets him a little bit extra health. And unless he goes for the dream scenario that it's the worst 5-drop possible.
I mean,
I don't even know what that could be.
maybe you have to do that.
Yeah. Validated Doomsayer has gone, which wouldn't even be that bad, actually.
He's going to go for that.
Yeah.
Clear it up, surrenders. Giving these a bit of a wiggle here, a bit of a smile, as he knows that, to me, as far as I'm aware, the Kobold Lackey plus the Goblin Lackey
That's it.
equals a lot of damage. Never mind the Shadow Step, but it's there just for good measure. And that is going to be game with a 2-0 victory. Surrender is going to be your first player going into the finals of the playoffs here at the Asia Pacific Grandmasters, and Staz is out.
A fantastic game by Surrender on the Rogue. He's just been playing some lights out Rogue the entire time, I think, here in Grandmasters. It's not a very easy deck to play. Surrender himself admits it. The Rogue Mirror, I think he was very much struggling with, playing it recently in particular. But I think he's had developed a great understanding of the matchup. all matchups with Rogue, and I would argue also he's just shown great improvement over the course of Grandmasters. He realized at first he was not playing up to his usual standard, so he knuckled down, put in the work, and got right back up there.
Yeah, and Surrender's a player who I think just year on year just continues to prove that he's just fantastic.
Yep.
And I think he just continues to get better at everything he pushes himself at. And I think, regardless of who plays on the other side and gets to the finals, it's going to be pretty hype because now it's either Surrender, Shaxi, or Alutimu that are going to go through into the global finals spot. And either one of those three players have all been played extremely impressively throughout the Grandmasters season and continue to do so. So, commiserations for Staz, of course. I think he was one of the most quickly improved players over Grandmasters.
So.
He had a very rocky start, was sitting near the bottom of his division for the first third of Grandmasters, maybe even half-ish, but then moved on very, very quickly and just back-to-back won a million matches for Staz to get here. So pretty impressive for Staz. It's sad to see him go. I know he had a lot of fans as well, but Surrender getting his spot there in the finals is huge.
Yes, I fully agree. I think, given that Staz, I believe after the first 4 weeks of Grandmasters was 2-6, and then improved to 8-6 afterwards. It's unbelievable. Like that, it's very, very difficult to do. We've only seen that really from Hunter Race on the other side, who also went on an unbelievable win streak. He is still up for contention later on today in the European region. But for now, we're going to be finding out who the opponent for Surrender is going to be. It's guaranteed a mage out of Shaxi or Alutemu. And I think both of those players are going to be pretty happy with the result from our first game of the day.
Yeah, the mages have managed to dodge the Hunter, which is the big story for at least those two. But you are right, Derek. It is Shaxi versus Alutimu coming right up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Hearthstone.